Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptops. You listen to my podcast, Vox and Hops, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians to talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. I hope you guys had a great week. I personally had a great week. I'm getting used to being back at work after being home for 11 weeks. I'm getting into the swing of things, and I'm getting used to working in the reality of COVID-19, and that's a good thing. But tomorrow's the weekend, and I'm really stoked about that. All month long, I am doing a spotlight on Unique Leader Records. I love this label. You should love this label. They have a whole bunch of amazing bands. A lot of them happen to be my friends, so I am slightly biased, but they're a great label who are putting out a whole bunch of amazing music made by even better people. Until July 1st, you can go on Unique Leader's Indie Merch e-store, and you can get 10% off. They set this up for Vox and Hops heads. I'm super stoked about this, so when you are checking out, you can get 10% off of anything on the Unique Leader Indie merch store. Do it. This promo runs until July 1st. There's a whole bunch of great stuff that's coming out. They got a bunch of pre-orders that are happening, and you could save 10% if you go do that right now. And that code when you are checking out is Vox and Hops. That's VOXANDHOPS. Do it. Support extreme music. On today's episode, I'm with Mick, Jeffery of Aversions Crown. They just released a new record today via Nuclear Blast. It is aptly called Hell Will Come For Us All. And it has, and it's here, and we got to get through it together, people. We got to stick together. It's a great record. It came out today, as I mentioned. You should go check it out. Here it is, Vox and Hops, episode number 154 with Mick, Jeffery of Aversions Crown.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm with Mick, Jeffery of Aversions Crown. I am stoked to be with you. You are in the future, being from Australia. It is nighttime for me, but you're a trooper, and I like it. I was like, normally I drink beer with my guests, and I know that it's tomorrow morning for you. We're like, fuck it, I'm going to get a beer. So I like you already. Super stoked to hang with you. Super stoked to talk about this new album, Hell Will Come For Us All, which is obviously a very fitting album title for the times we are living in.
Absolutely.
Let's just touch on that just to start with everything. How have you been coping with social isolation? How has it been for you?
Yeah, it's been, I guess, sort of, an unusual experience because no one's ever experienced anything like this before, and I'm sure you know all too well that a lot of us are used to just sort of being away from home and just being, anywhere except at home. So it's it's kind of weird, but I've just embraced it for what it is and enjoyed it as a forced holiday from all the things I'm normally doing with my life, and I'll probably never have an opportunity again where I'm at home without any responsibilities to be at work or to be on tour or to do this, that and the other. And this is probably my last time in my life where I won't have responsibilities, so I'm just enjoying it for that and taking the time to enjoy doing things that I wouldn't normally get time to do, like have beers in the morning.
Yes, morning brews. What are some of the things that you have accomplished that you wanted to accomplish and you never could because you never had enough time while you've been at home?
Yeah, I think it's just been fun, just kind of being able to just play music that I just want to play for fun and not have to sort of be rehearsing for tours or other projects or other things I've been doing. I've been doing some other musical things in the off time from tours over the last year or two, and it's just been cool just to be at home and just pick up the guitar and just do whatever you want without feeling like you have pressure to be working on certain things, and that's been pretty refreshing actually, so I've enjoyed that. Also the fact that I've got time to just kind of work out and do things at home and just kind of get creative with how I exercise now without having a gym I can go to or equipment that I would normally use, and that's been kind of fun too, and it's probably going to help the way I'd sort of keep fit on tour as well. I've kind of gotten a bit more creative with what I do to work out at home and things that I can adapt to the touring ways too, which would be cool.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. I try to work out as much as I can on the road. My drummer, Flo, is a machine and works out just about every day on tour, and he is very creative with his workout routine on the road. So take me through some of these creative ways that you've discovered. I'm imagining it's based on body weight, because that tends to be the secret.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just using sort of resistance bands and stuff like that, which I've always kind of had them and used them a little bit, but when that's kind of just been my primary piece of equipment for the last couple of months, it's been cool sort of working out different ways of using it and how I can sort of target different things and use it pretty effectively to have, just to work out. And I think that'll be something cool that I can just sort of throw in my guitar case and take with me anywhere I go and just sort of use it to work out, anywhere I am, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an absolute tool for anyone out there that's touring. You need those resistant bands. And even if I'm in the worst funk, if I'm slightly hungover because I had too much fun the night before, if I hammer through a workout, I always feel better. So that's a part of my hangover cure, which we'll get to later.
For sure.
Let's touch on the fact that you said that you'd never really get the chance to noodle on the guitar anymore, to just pick it up for pleasure. Take me back to when you were a youth and just learning guitar. How different is it now where when you pick up the guitar, it's not for pleasure, it's more for business? Is that something that you realized before COVID? Is that something that you wished you had more time? Or is it something that you have realized over the course of having so much more time?
It's always good to have a reason to pick up the guitar, I think, and have a sort of a project and a goal for me. But I think, it's something I've just enjoyed recently, as I said, and I think just because of the lifestyle I lead when I am back home from tour, I work a lot. I have jobs and stuff. I don't sort of come home and it's not sort of time off. It's sort of just straight back to work, working multiple jobs and stuff. So you do have to prioritise your time with anything you do. But all of a sudden I've just got sort of all these free hours, and it does sort of take you back to when you are first learning guitar as a kid, and you come home from school and you've got a few responsibilities, but then you kind of can just do whatever you want, and that's when a lot of people like me, you kind of do start putting in time on an instrument because you just enjoy it. It's something fun and there's no pressure, or there's no real reason to do it other than the fact that you just enjoy doing it and playing music. So it's been cool just to kind of just feel like that again.
And look where it's taken you. Classic Vox&Hops question. Take me back to your youth when you're growing up in your parents' or guardian's house. What music was playing when you were not in control of the music? What was the soundtrack to your youth?
For sure. Dad was always playing a lot of music. He listened to a lot of sort of the British rock stuff, bands like the Stones and the Who, the Beatles, Led Zepp, a lot of that kind of stuff. So that was sort of just real classic rock and roll stuff. I noticed that there was never a lot of the sort of more American side of the rock from that era, which I kind of went back and discovered a bit later on in life. But I still listen to a lot of those sort of bands and got a lot out of growing up listening to that music. And then it kind of, I guess, is a natural progression when you start getting into the heavier stuff and you can kind of understand where it came from and why certain bands sounded this way, and then, and you can see the evolution and the history of the genre.
Absolutely, yes. I agree with that with my dad's music. I spoke about it on the podcast before. My dad was really into like Metallica and a Black Album Metallica mostly. And I associated for the longest time, my dad's music had guitar solos. So me being a nu metal child, I did not like bands with guitar solos for the longest period of time. And it's strange, and now I go back and revisit all these bands that I immediately labeled as dad music. And they're, fantastic, of course, and I just had to take the time to delve into them. It took me a long time to get past that dad music label.
For sure.
Vox&Hops is all about hanging out with my metal friends, talking about life, music, and craft beer. Since you are sacrificing your day and morning drinking with me, what beer did you choose in that fridge there?
So the one I've got here is a White Rabbit chocolate stout, made with Pana chocolate. It's kind of like a limited edition one, apparently. They just had it. It's a pretty popular brewery in Australia, I guess, but they every now and then will have sort of limited release beers that just kind of you'll see just once and that's it. And yeah, I always like trying new ones, and it's coming into winter for us, I guess. It's the opposite season, so this is the kind of time of year where I start enjoying my stouts and darker beers a lot more, I guess. And so there's always a few new ones to try at this time of year, and I enjoy sampling
as
those.
I always say, when in doubt, one more stout.
That's sick.
On my side, I'm drinking Irma. It's a session IPA from Birra Bar, Bières Maison, which actually, very luckily, right before COVID hit, started canning their brews in their new brewery with their sister brewery called Silo. Huge shout out to the Birra and Silo people for hooking me up some brews for my interviews. This is a session IPA which has been hopped with Citra, Mosaic, and Crystal hops. It clocks in at 4% ABV. So let's see what this has got. While I'm cracking this and pouring this, talk to me about the Australian craft beer scene. I've heard through other interviews and others, I know that it's hot and that it's banging. So tell me some of your favorite places to drink craft beer.
Yeah, for sure. I think sort of like a lot of places in the world, it's really picked up in the last sort of 5 years or so. But there's so many cool microbreweries and stuff popping up all around the country. Even in the area I live, there's little microbreweries sort of even a short walk from my house, which is pretty cool. But there's a lot of cool bars that kind of call themselves more craft beer bars, and they'll change the taps every week. And so and obviously we can't go there now, but when they are up and running, there's a couple of good bars around my area that you'll go to, and every time you go in, the taps have changed, and so you get to try all these different beers. And a lot of the time they are domestic, but we do get a lot of international craft beer and stuff over here too. So yeah, I think it's it's pretty cool. But I don't know, like I'm always, probably like yourself, always keen to try new ones, and that's always a cool part of touring as well, is experiencing the beers around the different countries you go to. And I was looking forward to sampling a lot of beers around America, but unfortunately that didn't happen, so I'm back home drinking the Australian ones again.
I'm sure you'll be back real soon. This Irma Session IPA is absolutely delicious. It's smooth. It's crisp. Absolutely delicious. A nice little... It's quite hazy, actually. I wasn't expecting it to be so hazy. It's a really good... huge cheers to Birra, and anyone here in Montreal should absolutely go and support them. Let's touch on the fact that you were supposed to be on tour. Obviously, it's a disappointment. Talk me through the days up until the ban. Where were you guys? Were you guys already out on the road? I'm sorry that I don't know the answer to this. Or were you supposed to be going out on the road?
Yeah, we flew to the United States to do a pretty extensive tour around the States and Canada as well. So the first show the tour was supposed to start the 12th of March. So we arrived on the Monday night, and the 12th would have been the Thursday. So we flew in. We were sort of there for sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, doing all the prep stuff, which for people who don't tour, it usually involves picking up a lot of backline gear, sorting out merch, sorting out the vehicle, all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of sort of running around, getting things together, trying to get a bit of rehearsal time in as well. Seeing as we'd just kind of flown from the other side of the world, you just want to sort of brush up on your playing because you've had a few days in transit and that sort of stuff. We were feeling pretty good about the tour. So we were going to go out with the bands Die Art Is Murder, Fit for an Autopsy, Enterprise Earth, and Unmizir. We were from Iceland. So yeah, we kind of hung out with a couple of the bands on the Wednesday night, which was the night before the tour started, and we were all kind of joking about, imagine if this coronavirus thing kind of made us have to miss out on a show, and we weren't really taking it seriously, to be honest, and I don't think a lot of people were at that point. And then Thursday morning, we get up for the day of the first show, and we hear word that Seattle might be cancelled, and we think, oh, okay, well maybe this is a bit more serious than we thought. We get to the show in Philadelphia around 2:00, and it turns out Seattle was cancelled, and we think, all right, well, that sucks, but we'll just get on with the rest of the tour. By the time doors opened, the tour manager said to us, he said, boys, the first week is cancelled, so I don't know what we're going to do, but yeah, we're playing tonight, and then we've got a week off now.
Wow.
We'll think, wow, that's pretty crazy. What are we going to do? And then we went on stage, I think probably about 8 o'clock, and we're about to go on, and we're excited, the first show of the tour, and tour manager grabs us and goes, "Boys, this is the last show of tour. Every show has been cancelled. So as soon as you guys are done, you got to pack up. You got to get your stuff out of here. We got to get back to New Jersey and try and find you guys a flight back to Australia straight away." So before we even set foot on the stage, the mood had just kind of completely changed, and it was just like, and we didn't even know if we could even get back to Australia or what was going to happen. So it was pretty crazy and kind of scary, I guess, but we just wanted to enjoy the show as well, for the fact that this is it. And it ended up being a really fun vibe. The crowd was not made aware of that fact until a bit later on in the night that the tour had been cancelled. So when the final band came out, they kind of let everyone know, and so it was pretty cool in the way that everyone sort of came and tried to support us with buying merch and whatever, because it was a pretty big financial blow for us and everyone else. But it is what it is, and the main thing is we were able to get a flight home the next day. We got back to Australia before it got too crazy, and we were able to be at home for this rather than stuck in an RV in another country, not knowing when we could get home. So we're pretty fortunate in that way. But it was a pretty crazy couple of days. I don't think I slept that whole week. I left my house about 4 a.m. on Monday morning, and I landed back in Australia about 4 a.m. on the Sunday morning, and I'd sort of been to America and back and done a show and done all the other stuff, and I don't think I'd slept that whole time. So it was a crazy week.
I completely can imagine that, especially with the flying there and back. You lose and gain days, and it's hard to keep track just with that. First off, that was a sick tour package.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's going to be rescheduled, because I was looking forward to seeing it.
Totally.
And second off, you guys are in one of those Cruise Americas?
Yeah, that's what we were going with.
Yeah.
So we've done one before. Have you done one before?
I have, absolutely. It's just every Aussie band. There's some deal with like the Aussies and Cruise America. You guys get a sweet deal, because I've interviewed a bunch of bands and spoken to a bunch of bands that always get these Cruise Americas, such as Psychroptic and Disentomb.
Yeah, for sure.
Who are all riding in those.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, both of those bands are the reason we got onto it in the first place. So we'd seen both of them.
It's a small world. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And Todd Stern, who plays bass in Psychroptic, met us in Jersey and helped us pick up the RV and get all the gear and stuff. So there's a lot of legendary Aussie bands that sort of all help each other out, and it was really cool.
Where can fans go and buy this merchandise that you guys printed for this tour that is obviously just sitting somewhere right now? So where can people go help support you right now?
Awesome. Yeah, it's all up on indymerch.com. So that was, it was all just everything we printed for the tour got sent to them, and they've put it all up online. So it's all available for purchase there. And if anyone wants to help out, that'd be really helpful for us. And any support is greatly appreciated.
Of course, because, even just being from Canada is expensive to come tour the States. But for you guys to buy the flights and the flights back home, the RV, printing the merch, I can just imagine the gear. So everybody out there, help out Aversions Crown and pick up some shirts. Pick up everyone's merch. They need it right now, trust me. Totally, yeah. Take me to your first time on stage. Do you remember that first show that you played?
Yeah, the first music performance memory I have is in a school band. I used to play the trumpet. I was quite young, and you kind of go home and you learn your music you're given to by your teacher, but then all of a sudden you get together with this full big band, and the one little part you're playing is part of a big picture, and you kind of get that feeling of, all right, it's not just about this thing I'm doing, it's about the whole sound of the band. So I remember just kind of getting goosebumps on the back of my neck when I heard the whole band come together and start performing this big piece of music, and I remember thinking how cool that felt. And then I always sort of played in bands through school and stuff, but once I picked up the guitar in early high school, I always thought, it'd be so cool to be able to do that with a band and have your own music and stuff like that. And ended up just kind of forming some bands with friends and booking our own shows and going out and doing it, and just kind of local youth centres and those kind of places that you could hire out for nothing, and people would come and watch us play, and we loved it, and I've still kind of look back on that and think about how much fun it was. Not doing it for any reason other than we just love doing it, and then years later still love doing it, but I get to do it for different people around the world, and it's really cool.
We are the luckiest people in the world to be able to do what we do.
I totally agree.
And I hope that part of me would like to fast forward until we can get back on stage again. But then I want to live through all these moments so that I can grow.
Totally.
And hopefully learn something from this experience. I hope the world learns something from COVID-19 and we don't just forget it.
Me too. I think there's so many things that can be learned from it, and I think things that people may have taken for granted previously, I hope that they kind of realise how special and lucky they are to be able to have all these things at their disposal. But also the fact that there's so many things in life we just don't need. We just don't need to be consuming so many things. We don't need to be shopping and buying all this stuff all the time. That so many things can be achieved without sort of spending money and all these extra things that people just do because we're so used to it. But also, even just basic things like hygiene. It blows my mind that so many people in the world have had to buy hand sanitizer for the first time, and it's like, I'm not any kind of crazy germ freak or anything, but it's just been common sense to me that if I'm going somewhere, I take hand sanitizer, and especially when you're touring and you're just touching things and people get sick all the time, and there's no time to isolate yourself and recover. You need to stay healthy, and just things like that have just been sort of a no-brainer for me, and all of a sudden the whole world's kind of realised, all right, maybe I need to kind of worry about germs and stuff like that. And I wonder if that's going to continue on once the pandemic settles down, if people are still going to be hygienic and considerate with other people's health and their own health, or if it's just going to kind of go back to how it was. So.
At least at these venue bathrooms, right?
Oh,
can they put some soap in these every once in a while?
Oh man, I know,
the
right?
amount of times.
And I think this is with all the venues being closed, I hope that they're all taking the opportunity to fix the toilets in all the venues around the world. Like, there's three things.
Put some doors.
Man, I know.
Put
there's
some
three
doors.
things Three things I want in a venue bathroom. It's a door, a seat, and toilet paper. And if I get at least 2 out of 3 things, that's pretty good. But if they can kind of get all those things under control, that'd be sick.
Absolutely. Let's touch on Tyler joining the band, or Tyler's first album, at least. How you must be stoked with a new album coming out. Everyone's always stoked when they have a new album out. I'm always stoked when I have a new album coming out. But a new album with a new member is always special. So talk me through this.
For sure. And it always just brings a new energy to the dynamic of the band, amongst other things, like obviously a new sound. But we were really excited about what he was doing with his approach to writing the songs. He had definitely a more mature approach to the way he placed his vocals in with the music, and none of us have ever kind of had the approach of being kind of a band that just anyone tries to sort of flaunt their abilities or anything like that. It's all about servicing the song, and he really got that, I guess, and it wasn't sort of about anything other than this is what the song needs and this is what's going to really suit the music. And I think he did such a cool job bringing a lot of hooks in the vocals, some melody into the vocals which we'd never had before, a lot of clarity in the way he pronounces words, and still got that heaviness but also just more raw aggression, which I love in metal vocals. A lot of people, it's all sort of all technique without that just anger in it, and I like hearing when a singer has that sort of anger and aggression that's mixed in with it all.
Absolutely. And you guys had one of the best metal producers out there mix your record. Will Putney, such a metal god. My guitarist Christian Donaldson is a producer at the Grid here in Montreal, and he can't take his hat off more to Will. He tells me all the time. So is this the first time you've worked with him? I apologize, I don't know the answer to this. Yeah.
It's the first time we've done full length with him. So we had worked previously with him on just sort of one-off singles and stuff like that, but it's never kind of been done the most effective way. It's always just kind of been, we've recorded something here and then just sent it to him and asked him to mix it. Whereas this time he was more involved in the process, even though he wasn't here in person to engineer the album. He, you know, like we're doing now, is Skyping us and giving us a lot of input about how he wanted things to be tracked, how he wanted things mic'd up, tones he wanted us to use, string gauges, all that kind of stuff that gave him what he needed to do a mix that he thought that the band needed. So yeah, it was a really cool process doing it with him like that and having someone so involved in the whole process. And then obviously, yeah, we were really stoked with the end result as well.
Let's dance back around. Being from Australia, I always think it's very interesting. I think it's hard being from Canada and going into the States and getting a good cycle going, but you guys are just so far away. Do you ever feel that being from Australia versus, let's say, the States is something that has hindered your band's progression?
Big time. I think any band from Australia is instantly disadvantaged compared to a band from, say, America or even a band from Europe. For example, if we were to do a national tour as a death metal band in Australia, we're essentially limited to playing the capital cities because the regional cities, there's just no market for it, and there might be some people who are fans of the music, but not enough to make it worthwhile sort of making the trip for a band like us. So that is essentially maybe 6 or 7 shows in the whole country of Australia, which is pretty much the same size as America. And then, you know, for a band in America, you can kind of just, you could essentially just only tour America if you wanted. It's such a big market. There's so many places to play. You could just keep doing laps around that country and you could sustain a band quite easily, I think. You know, the touring lifestyle is so cool over there. Like the roads are really good. There's always places to stop. Whereas in Australia, you know, like once it's nighttime, there's just nothing. You can't even get fuel if you haven't sort of prepared and filled up before a certain time. You can get stuck in the middle of nowhere if you run out of fuel. And so, yeah, America's kind of just the ultimate place to do road trips or tour, because there's just endless amounts of places to stop, to sleep, to fill up, to eat. There's also so many places to play, and there's always good crowds everywhere. So, yeah, I think it is. And obviously the cost of getting there for us is huge, like flights, visas, hiring transport, like hiring gear, because you can't sort of bring your own gear all the time. And so there's a lot of costs involved before you even, you know, play a single note. So it's a disadvantage for sure.
But it's always worth it once you're there.
Always, yeah.
Let's dance back around to Hell Will Come For Us All. The name is too fitting. I said at the beginning, I stand by that. It's coming out June 12th via Nuclear Blast. What can people expect? You mentioned that the vocals are more melodic, yet super aggressive and well pronounced. Has the music gone in a different direction, or is it just a continuation of what was happening before?
I think it is definitely different, but it's more of a just natural evolution in the sound of the music, and that kind of comes from touring for the last few years off the other releases, and just kind of seeing what things that we'd been writing previously went down well with crowds, and things that people were really grabbing onto in the live show, and things that maybe were going over people's heads, and trying to, you know, bring that into the writing approach as well, and imagine how the songs are going to translate to the stage and things like that, as well as trying to make the music a bit more, you know, accessible in general. Even though it's death metal, you still want people to be able to take something away from it and grab onto parts of the song and find hooks and melodies and memorable parts in there. And we've always still treated it as music. It's not just about being brutal, it's about writing music, and we just happen to be writing heavy music. So
well, that comes with maturity too.
Yeah, I agree.
Versus just trying to be balls out all the time.
Oh, for sure.
To take a step back and to create a song.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I still love bands that are just balls out all the time, and that's, I mean, to be honest, that's more what I listen to. But I don't think this band has ever kind of been that. It's always still had other elements in it, and I think, we've kind of just refined it a bit more with this album.
Shoot me some bands that you think are overlooked that more people should be listening to.
I mean, from Australia, bands like Disentomb and Psychroptic, great bands, pretty heavy bands, but such great, grooves and riffs, and there's a lot to take out of there. There's bands from Germany like Devastation On The Nation, who are a black metal band that is such a cool band that I think so many people would enjoy if they heard them. Trying to think, there's bands that I think are starting to come up that are doing really cool, unique things, like Rivers of Nile with their latest album. They've been around for a while, but I think that one just brought in all these other elements that made them really unique, and I really look forward to seeing.
Game changer. Game changer.
For sure.
As soon as I heard that, I wrote them all. I was like, dudes. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I got drunk one night. They put out that live from St. Vitus video. Yeah. And I got drunk one night and I was just messaging Biggs, their bassist. I was like live texting him my opinions.
Oh, totally.
I'm a huge fan of what they've done. And Fit for an Autopsy too, that new record, I feel is
for sure
falls into that vein of new wave of extreme metal that's incorporating a lot of elements which are very interesting, the melodies, and taking metal an extra step further, and I always really appreciate that.
For sure. And I mean, even like, without blowing smoke up your ass, but a band like Cryptopsy is like such a good band, and I've listened to for so many years, and it's always been sort of evolving as well, and I'm always looking forward to the new music from you guys. And I remember first hearing Cryptopsy on the And Then You'll Beg album, I think, back in the day, and kind of just been following it ever since. So I'm sure Canada's got heaps of other cool bands that I'm yet to hear of, but the more we kind of travel, you kind of get exposed to bands from different countries, and it's a cool way to kind of find other new music.
That, and just ending up on a tour package and you're not aware of everyone, and you're like, what is that? Oh my God.
Sure. Totally, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's wrap it up with one last question. I mentioned what my hangover cure is, which is just sucking it up and putting a workout in and going through my day without trying to whine too much. What is your hangover cure? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, working out is always the last thing I feel like doing, but it always kind of brings me back to life. So try and just sweat it out a bit, get lots of fluids in, and eat lots of food as well. Like, I don't know, maybe it soaks it up or something like that. But the times I've had a big night and you have something you have to do, whether you have to go to work or whatever in the morning, and you just like, how do I get rid of this feeling before I have to function as a real human? And I think just trying to sweat it out a bit always makes me feel a bit better, whether it's just in my head or for whatever reason, but it seems to work.
Absolutely. Mick, thank you so much for sitting down with me, drinking some craft beer, talking about your life and your music. Everybody out there, hell will come for us all. The new Aversions Crown will be out on June 12th via Nuclear Blast, and you should absolutely check it out, pick it up, and buy some of those shirts that they have from that tour, which you were probably going to go to anyways because it was such a sick lineup, so you may as well just buy a shirt now.
Sick. You're a legend. Thank you so much, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. I had such a great chat with Mick, such a cool dude. Hit it off immediately, and I love when that happens. Super stoked about their new record, Hell Will Come For Us All. If you haven't checked it out, you absolutely should. As I said in the intro, it dropped today, and you should absolutely go check it out and enjoy it because it's a banger of an album. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I am looking forward to relaxing a little bit, and I suggest that you do the same. I will be back next week with 2 episodes, one on Tuesday and another on Friday. But until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.